We're here with John Rich, and he's, very prominent on his own, but you guys probably know him from Big and Rich. Thank you for talking with us.
Absolutely. Been looking forward to it. Beautiful here.
Yeah. It is.
Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Beautiful. Came in on a helicopter. Can you believe that? Right through the trees, man. It was something else.
Right through the trees.
Yeah.
You weren't scared of hitting a tree?
Nah. I came in on a tour bus last night from Nashville, and then got off the tour bus and ate something real quick, and then got on a helicopter and came to see you guys.
It's good.
And then I'm leaving here to go play a big concert tonight.
Yeah, in Greenville, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Keep moving.
So today is the second day in a row that we've seen you.
Believe it or not.
It's actually a really funny story. We were watching a Lone Star video last night, and you just popped up.
Yeah, I was in, Lone Star was the first band I was ever in. I was right out of high school. I was 18 years old when those guys came to me and they said, hey, we're putting a band together. I said, cool. And they said, you want to be in it? And I said, sure. I'm 18, what else? Of course. And they said, well, we're all from Texas, and you're from Texas, right? And I'm from Amarillo, Texas, up in the Panhandle. And we thought it'd be cool to have a band of all Texans together. And I went, yeah. And they said, you play bass, right? I went, yeah, I can play a bass. I mean, how hard can it be? It's only got 4 strings, But I had never really played a bass. Wow. And so they said, okay, great, learn these songs. And they gave me a list of 20 songs. We're having a rehearsal next week. So I went and called a buddy of mine who was a bass player and said, I need to borrow your bass. I need you to teach me how to play these songs. So I had about 1 week of practice, and then started playing with the band. I was with the band for 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how many instruments do you know how to play? I mean, you didn't know how to play the bass, and you picked it up that quick.
Yeah, well, I've been playing guitar since I was about 5. So my dad's like a fire and brimstone, non-denominational preacher, and he played guitar in church, and and gave guitar lessons on the side to make extra money. So I'd tag along with him to the guitar lessons at 5 years old, and I'd just kind of sit and watch what everybody was doing, and I picked it up pretty quick. So by the time I was 18, I've been playing guitar a long time, but my main instrument's guitar and bass and stuff like that. I never learned piano, but I really dove more into writing songs. Songwriting for me has been a really big deal.
Is that you? Would you say principally you're kind of a songwriter first and a performer?
I would say that the hardest thing to do in music is to write a hit song. That's harder than singing one. It's harder than having a hit, and by that I mean, just think about it. If you got a blank sheet of paper and a pencil, and it's just looking at you, you can put anything you want on that blank sheet of paper, and depending on what you put on it, nobody's ever going to hear it, or if you get really lucky and it's really a great song, it might wind up getting recorded by somebody, and if it does, then it has to get on the radio, and then the fans have to like it, then it has to become a hit. So to me, that's like the ultimate white rabbit out of the hat, is writing a great song, because you're literally creating something from nothing. So throughout my career, I started writing songs about 17 years old, started getting serious about it, and to date I've written over 2,000 country songs. And in that long line of songs, I've written over 50 top 40 singles out of there. So it's been and I continue to write. I wrote a new one 2 days ago. So I'll probably write 40, 50 songs a year. I used to write over 100 a year. But when Big and Rich got real busy, you can't write that much. So now I try to go more for quality instead of quantity, but I still write a lot of songs.
How did growing up in Texas prepare you for that? Because I feel like when you think of Texas, you think of country. You don't think of the Kelsey Ballerini countries.
That's true. I mean, Texas and Amarillo, that's like, that's the biggest feedlots in the world. It's flat as a board. There's no trees. It's Tornado Alley, and the guys out there, like my uncles and neighbors and people like that, they literally look like John Wayne. I mean, their skin was like leather. They woke up in the morning, put their cowboy hat on, get on the horse and take off, 30 rifles and the whole thing. At my school in Texas, you could take rodeo as an elective. I mean, they had hat trees in the back of the room, the stand, and kids would come in with their Stetsons on and put it in the back, sit down and go to English class, put their hat back on and go to math class. And I mean, people would ride their horses to school and tie them up.
So were you one of those kids that took those classes?
I was one of those kids that took those classes. Yeah, my original goal was to be a professional team roper.
Oh, really?
So I would stand out in the front yard waiting on the bus every morning with a lariat and a hay bale with horns in it, and I'd stand out there 1, 2, 3, whap, 1, 2, 3, whap, and I'd try to get in 300 or 400 throws before the bus got there.
Right on.
Yeah. But I didn't become a professional team roper.
How'd you divert from that into music?
I think because when you're living in that lifestyle, country music is part of it. It's part of the culture of all of that. So, you know, my granddaddy and uncles, they were all like Bob Wills fans, you know, Texas swing and all that. And then, of course, here comes the Austin, Texas music, and Willie Nelson, and those guys show up. And then when George Strait showed up and sang a song called Amarillo by Morning, that was it. I mean, I heard that and went, wow, somebody's singing about this town I live in. And I bought his poster. I took I'd working on a hog farm. I saved up my money, bought a George Strait. It was George Strait and Reba McEntire. Went and saw their concert, and I saw that and went, that's it. That's the greatest thing I've ever seen. It didn't make me want to be a country singer because I didn't know how anybody would do that or that I could even do that. It just really struck such a chord with me to watch this guy that I'd heard on the radio sing a song about the town I lived in. You know, that just blew me out of the water. I just couldn't believe how powerful that was. So no doubt back in the day when I was 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, that is where country music really got its hooks into me.
How did that go with your dad being a preacher?
How did what go with my dad being a preacher?
The country music, I feel like preachers are more into the gospel. And
yeah, that's true. Yeah, my dad was, he was really inquisitive about a little lyric called Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy. He really wanted to know how that happened. And he come up to me, and I guess when that song came out, I was 29, 30. And we were at my Granny Rich's house eating fried chicken, and he goes, come here for a minute. And I said, come over, and he goes, yeah, all the kids at the youth group are singing this song. They said it's your song. I go, what is it? He goes, something about a cowboy or something. And I went, oh yeah, Save a Horse. He went, yeah. He goes, you think you ought to be singing stuff like that? And I said, well, I know the first song you taught me was Chug-a-Lug, Chug-a-Lug by Roger Miller. And the second one you taught me was Folsom Prison Blues, where he says, I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. He goes, well, that's true. I said, so they're just songs, man. You know, he goes, all right. I said, you know 10%'s going back to the Lord anyway, because I tithe. He goes, well, you make sure you do that. I said, all right, let's hope it's a big hit. And he goes, all right, let's hope. And that was the end of it. But it was an interesting conversation for sure. Absolutely. But when you grow up on those crazy songs like that, I mean, it's just in you, you know, to say stuff like that.
Well, I mean, when you talk about it being a big hit, you know, and you don't know you're writing at the time, right? But what's it like to write like an anthem like that?
To write an anthem like Save a Horse? I mean, Save a Horse is now, for Big and Rich, that's like Sweet Home Alabama. Right. Yeah. Don't you think? Mm-hmm. I mean, you guys have heard it. I mean, me and Kenny could be in our 90s and probably get up there and go, da-da, and they'd all stand up, you know? It's pretty awesome to have that. I mean, throughout my career, I've written songs like Hicktown and Redneck Woman and Mississippi Girl, and I mean, I've written other anthems too. I mean, for Aldine, he still plays Hicktown. That's his finale song. Yeah, I wrote Hicktown. Redneck Woman for Gretchen Wilson is one of the biggest songs in the past 20 years, you know?
You wrote that?
I did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What are some other songs that maybe we wouldn't know that John
Well,
Rich
for Aldine, I had 5 number ones on him. So I wrote Hicktown, Johnny Cash, do you know the song? Throw that suitcase in the back.
Man, his first album came out like that.
Yeah. He had a ballad called Why? Why Does It Always Have to Come Down to You Leaving? I wrote that one. I wrote Amarillo Sky. Okay. About the farmer, you know, in my hometown. And then for people like Faith Hill, I wrote Like We Never Loved It All, which was a Grammy-nominated song with her and Tim. And Mississippi Girl, which was a huge song for Faith. And then Gretchen was Here for the Party, Redneck Woman, When I Think About Cheating, All Jacked Up, and on and on. We wrote all those songs. She was my bartender in Nashville at this little bar I was in, and she got up to sing at the end of the night. And she gets up to sing, and I went, oh, well, of course the bartender's a singer. We're in Nashville. Everybody's a singer. But she got up and laid into that microphone, and I went, good God, what was that? And Big Kenny was sitting there. I said, did you hear that? He went, yeah, maybe she'll sing another one. And she did. She sang a second song, and I went, okay, I don't know what I just saw, but there's no way I'm getting out of here without meeting that girl. I went up to her bar, and I said, Mike, I said, why don't you have a record deal? And she looked at me with that Gretchen Wilson scowl that she has in her eyes, and she goes, why, you think you can get me one? I said, well, I don't know if I can get you one or not. I said, but I know a lot of people in town. Maybe, I said, I can pay you $100 a song as a demo singer to sing songs I'm writing. Okay. I said, you got anything you've ever recorded? I could hear what you sound like on a microphone. She goes, hang on. She got a cigarette, reaches into her purse, pulls out a CD and goes, zips it across the bar and goes, it's right there. And then she looks at the guy behind me and goes, you want another Miller Lite? That was Gretchen, man. So she and I became like brother and sister, and I produced all those records and wrote all those hits with her. It's a pretty incredible story.
Absolutely it is. Wow.
Well, we're a video show, so I have a question about one of your videos.
Okay.
On the Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy video, how did you get that girl to stay so still? Because I thought she was a doll the whole entire
the mannequin.
video.
Yeah, wouldn't that, so Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy was one of the largest budget videos that had ever been shot in Nashville. Oh, okay. If you go back and look at that, we had literally a parade of people coming across the bridge, the pedestrian bridge in Nashville. That's the first time anybody saw 2-Foot Fred, you know, the little guy, the little crazy guy. First time anybody saw Cowboy Troy was in that video. First time anybody saw Gretchen Wilson. She's driving the John Deere tractor with the pigtails. First time she had ever been in a video. This predates Redneck Woman. And so Kenny and I just said, man, if this is the only video we ever get to do, because at that point you just don't know. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen. It could be your last video. Let's just blow it out, man. And Kenny goes, I know this girl that can sit still, like he saw her in a window somewhere at some art show or something. Yeah, like in a window, and you're going, is she real or not? Then she'll turn and you go, whoa, what just happened? So he called her up, said, hey, would you be a mannequin in the video? And she said, sure. So, I mean, we just had the craziest stuff of all time in that video. It was really a landmark video. I mean, I think you can see that video and then see the videos that happened after it with other artists, and everybody started ramping up after that. Just crazier and crazier after Save a Horse.
A lot of your videos are like that, though.
Yeah.
I mean, like with Fake ID, it's like a whole bar full of people dancing, and
And then we've got more serious videos like Holy Water. You know, I don't know if you know that song, but that's a song Kenny and I wrote about our sisters who were both married to these guys that were extremely abusive to them. And going through those situations with our sisters, we got to talking one day, and he said, man, I'd say half the girls I've ever gone out with have a story like that. And I said, yeah, you're probably right. We said, let's write a song for those girls. So we started writing Holy Water, and it's become a standard for Big and Rich. I mean, we have to play it every single show. People will show up holding signs, go play Holy Water. 8th of November is another serious video, you know, about a Vietnam veteran. November 8th, 1965, War Zone D. Got to know this guy in Deadwood, South Dakota, and got to dig into his story a little bit and said, we want to write a song about your story, like verbatim. We want the numbers to be right, the dates to be right. He goes, okay. So he told us the whole story, and we turned it into this song, and actually went down for the 173rd Airborne, which is who he was with. They didn't have a memorial in outside of Fort Benning, Georgia. We went down and did a concert and raised $1.1 million in one concert and built the memorial for the 173rd Airborne. We'll be playing that song tonight. For over 1,000 concerts in a row, we have brought veterans in active duty up on stage with us when we sing 8th of November, and we read their name, their rank, when they served, where they served, and then we give them the mic and say whatever you want. And we step back and they address the audience. Over 1,000 concerts in a row, which is a big thing to me in general, is our military and our vets and our active duty. You see this cap I'm wearing, Redneck Riviera. That's a big deal at Redneck Riviera. That's a brand I've got that's becoming a national brand at the moment. In Las Vegas, there's a Redneck Riviera, and inside that bar is the Heroes Bar. And so the Heroes Bar is staffed with veterans, and if you're active duty or a vet, or fire or police, you get to come to the Heroes Bar because you're one of our American heroes, and first drinks on the house every time. And I think to date we've served I think it's close to 3,000 first drinks on the house. Think about that. There's not a place in the world that does that. I mean, there's a lot of places that, you know, recognize our vets and recognize our active duty and police and fire, but they don't give them something, you know. They go, man, thank you for your service. We go, thank you for your service, here you go. It's on us. That's a big deal to us in Big and Rich. It's a big deal to me with Redneck Riviera.
And you're going to do the same thing in Nashville with the bar?
Same thing in Nashville, yeah. So the second Redneck Riviera will be at 3rd and Broadway, right on the Strip. You guys have been down to Broadway before?
I have, yeah.
So you know how crazy that place is.
Yeah, people playing on the streets.
It's under construction right now, and will be open soon. Next couple months, it'll be open. And first thing you see when you walk in that door, Heroes Bar. Bam. Oh, and we have this American flag behind the Heroes Bar that's like 15 by 25, made out of what?
Beer cans.
Beer cans. Ding, ding, ding. Isn't that cool?
That is cool. We saw it last night. That and the disco horse saddle.
Yep, got a rhinestone saddle and all kinds of cool stuff. I would say to the folks out there watching the interview, you should go to redneckriviera.com and you can sign up, put your email address in, and I personally send out emails to keep everybody kind of updated as to what's coming next. But these boots, Redneck Riviera boots, there's a beef jerky line out. There's a whiskey coming out 4th quarter this year. So it's a very fast expanding brand right now, and a lot of patriotism in it and a lot of heart and soul.
Do you have a name for the whiskey yet?
Redneck Riviera Bonfire Whiskey. You're going to love it. If you love whiskey, you're going to dig this. Personally tested by me, so you know it's good.
And your bar in Vegas is really the only place where you can go and see country music every single night.
Yeah, I mean, we're sitting right in the middle of Las Vegas, so you know what Wahlburgers is? Mm-hmm. Have you seen the TV show for Wahlburgers? So the biggest Wahlburgers in the world is underneath my feet when I'm standing at Redneck Riviera. So it's Wahlburgers and Redneck Riviera. So you can actually go into Redneck Riviera, listen to a live country band, get a cold beer, go over to the Heroes Bar, and if you get hungry, we got Wahlburgers menus. Oh, cool. And they'll bring them straight up the stairs and give you one. So it's pretty cool. I'd say if you're going to Vegas anytime, look up Redneck Riviera and go over there and just check the place out, man, because it's not like any place you've seen before. It's in a place called the Grand Bazaar. Put it into your phone, you'll find it.
Grand Bazaar.
So in addition to that, you guys have a new album coming out next month.
Other than that, there's not much going on, right? Pretty slow.
Pretty slow. Well, the album is...
New Big and Rich record, yeah.
It sounds like it's shaping up to be a really great album. I mean, the 2 songs you have out right now are...
California.
I like a lot of stuff. California and Smoking.
And Smoking Her Eyes. Do you like Smoking Her Eyes? Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah. The record's called Did It for the Party. And we'll be playing a bunch of those new songs tonight in the show, actually. But it hits September 15th. You can actually pre-order it right now on iTunes and Apple Music and all the places where you would go get your music. And you get what they call instant gratification tracks. So if you pre-order the album, you get a little break on the price, plus you get 2 or 3 songs off the record right now and don't have to wait.
Right on.
It's exciting, man. You know, it's always a big deal to put out a new record. Put a lot of work into that. I mean, a couple of years, go into making that body of work.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the singles that you have out are not exactly the type of music that you hear on the radio today. Can they expect that?
I take it you're not a fan of pop country.
Oh, I love pop country.
Oh, you love pop country.
I love it.
Oh, see, there we go. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, some of it.
Some of it's okay.
It's
the only thing I don't like about current country music is a lot of it is redundant.
Exactly. That is
it's like my dad said, point. You sound like you went to the school of redundancy school. Right? I mean, like, how many times can you say the exact same thing over and over and over, and I just go, I just start tuning out, What I loved about some of the great country music in the past was it was standalone ideas and standalone storylines and standalone voices. Nobody else sounded like that or looked like that. They weren't singing about that. I think in Big and Rich, you could say nobody sounds like Big and Rich, looks like Big and Rich, or sings songs like Big and Rich.
Unique harmony.
Yeah, it's just we're kind of a one-of-a-kind deal.
Absolutely.
So that's the theme that they can expect on your album, though.
Big and Rich albums have always been a wide array of subject matter and sonics, the audio that you hear coming out. You're like, one song may be stripped all the way down because that's how we felt would put the lyric across the best, and then another song is so over the top, you're like, wow. I mean, it sounds like it should be in a football stadium. This record's the same way. I mean, it's a classic Big and Rich record, man. It will remind you of the records that you've loved from us in the past.
That's great. So when y'all write a song, you put everything into that song that's going to help the song stand out. It's not any extra.
You mean like producing it?
Yeah, producing it.
Yeah, so Kenny and I, we write all of our songs and then we also produce them. So we go in the studio. We don't have a record producer that comes in. We are the record producers. And it's always been like that. So whatever you hear, that's me and Big Kenny in there with the musicians, and we're got our pencils and we're going, you play this, no, change that. I mean, we're directing and producing those bands that make up our sound. And then when you go to our live show, man, we know exactly how that happens, so we're able to make it happen exactly the same way on stage.
It must be an incredible feeling when you're in there and you're working on something and it just all clicks, you know, and then it flows.
Yeah.
It must be.
Yeah, it's like hitting a home run, man. It's, you know it when it happens. Like California, our single that's out at country radio right now, it's charging up through the 20s right now, and it's going to go #1, the way this thing is clipping along. But we knew when we recorded that and then hit play to listen back and turned it up real loud, I looked at Kenny and I went, that's it. He goes, you just know it when you hear one, you know. That song just sounded like a smash right off the bat.
It's got all the qualities of one, and the video is great too.
Thanks. Yeah, very cool video. It's the girl in the California video, which I could not believe this was true, but it is. She actually drove an Altima, which is what the song talks about. Like she's packing up her Altima and she's driving to California. This girl actually packed up her Altima in Knoxville, Tennessee, and drove to Hollywood, California to be a model. Be an actress and be a model.
And she just ended up being the actress.
And just happened to be one of the girls that had auditioned for that video. And in her audition, she said, I actually have lived this story because here's what I did. And she said, packed up my Altima, drove to Hollywood, left a boyfriend back at home. And she goes, so, please pick me. And we went, pick her. And so what she did is she actually took another road trip. You'll see in the video, the Grand Canyon and Colorado and Amarillo and all those places, and then of course California. She went and did a road trip, and they just filmed her road trip doing it again. That's what's in the video.
That's pretty interesting.
So it's a real-time, legit road story.
And another project you have going on right now is a reality show?
Yes. So we talked about Wahlburgers earlier. The same production company that does Wahlburgers, so it's Mark Wahlberg and Donnie Wahlberg and all those guys. I got to know those guys since we're neighbors in Las Vegas. And there was an episode just on Wahlburgers like 2 nights ago of me and all the Wahlbergs talking about them putting their food into Redneck Riviera. Well, it went so well that the directors and the producers of their show said, man, Redneck Riviera and Big and Rich, that should be a TV show. I said, I agree. So we're like this close to inking that deal. We'll have it done in the next couple of weeks, and then we'll start going into production on a show called Living Big and Rich.
So, like, what does that mean? Is it
Okay, so,
all fancy cars and caviar and elaborate vacations?
I mean, there'll be fancy cars in it, because I got some fancy cars and guns and all kinds of other stuff. Interesting people, but it's basically Living Big and Rich will be, let's say it's a 30-minute episode. It'll be 10 minutes of me and Redneck Riviera and what all's going on with that. 10 minutes of Big Kenny and his crazy world, and then 10 minutes of Big and Rich coming together.
All right.
So you'll have 3 different storylines rolling through that 30 minutes that should be highly entertaining, because I know how our lives are, and trust me, if people get to actually see what goes on with us on a daily basis, it's really interesting TV.
And you're not new to TV, because you also had Gone Country and Celebrity Apprentice.
I did, yeah. Gone Country on CMT is still the highest rated show in the history of CMT.
Really? Mm-hmm. Well, it was a pretty cool show.
3 years of bringing in people from other music genres and putting them through boot camp, basically, in country music. Crazy.
They were so far out from different...
Bobby Brown,
yeah.
Dee Snider,
completely
Parliament Funkadelic. I mean, you name it, man. We had everybody in there. But I think it did get me ready to do a lot more TV. That was the first real serious TV I'd ever done. And then from that moved into, I got the call from the now president, Donald Trump. Said, I'd love for you to come be on Celebrity Apprentice. I said, I've been watching that show. I mean, you guys are pretty hard on people. He goes, well, it's a big competition, I don't know how good my impersonation is, but so I said, you know what? I said, if I can play for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, I'll do it. He said, we love St. Jude. Eric does a lot with St. Jude. His son Eric does do a lot for St. Jude. I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. So I showed up in New York, and 58 out of 60 days, from 6 in the morning till 11 at night, I was on camera. Wired up, bam, right in your face. 58 out of 60 days. And wound up going all the way to the end of the show and won the show. My goal was to raise $1 million, because nobody ever raised $1 million. And what's that British guy? Piers Morgan.
Piers Morgan.
Yeah. Not a big fan of him. Are you? I don't think he's got a lot of fans anymore. That's why he lost his show. But anyway, Pierce had been on there and he had raised like close to $500,000.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'm going to double what he made.
Well, you definitely did.
And we over doubled 1.4.
1.4.
When it was all over, it was 1.4. And then the people that signed up to support St. Jude online, like at stjude.com, they call them Partners in Hope. So these are people that are $20 a month, $40 a month increments of money. There was such a surge during that Celebrity Apprentice, which was the most watched Celebrity Apprentice in the history of the show. It raked in over $60 million in Partners in Hope. Yeah. So the 1.4 I made was just kind of like it was like shooting a flare and make everybody look at that and go, oh, we need to be a part of this. And just a tidal wave of support came in for St. Jude.
Wow, that's incredible.
Well, we're excited to keep up with all that you have coming up.
Well, I appreciate the time to talk about it, and I know there's a lot of people that, watch your show and watch this channel, and, I've become good friends with the Wordsworths here in North Carolina, and they've actually stepped in really big support with me and Redneck Riviera, and I think one big reason of that is probably because of what we do with our vets and our active duty. But, Redneck Riviera, we say it's America's work hard, play hard brand. It's the people out there that they work like crazy all week long, and then they got a little bit left over for the weekend. How are they going to spend it? What are they going to do? Well, they're going to have as much fun as they possibly can with that little bit of money. So when you come to a Redneck Riviera bar, or you buy a cap or the boots or whatever, it says something. It's got a message behind it. It's kind of like if you see somebody wearing a Leonard Skinner t-shirt, you immediately know a little bit of something about that person. Well, Redneck Riviera is that kind of a brand. It's a lifestyle brand. I say it's like the rowdy country version of Margaritaville. Right on. That's kind of what it is to me, and something that I think is an American treasure, man. That phrase is a colloquial phrase, been around since the early 60s. Calling the Gulf Coast that, but what I found is it's a state of mind. It's wherever you say it is, man. It's North Carolina, it's Las Vegas, it's British Columbia. It's a state of mind. If you work hard and you play hard and you're God, family, country kind of person, that's who we're looking for.
Redneck Riviera kind of guy.
That's it.
Or girl.
Or girl.
And lastly, since we are in North Carolina, I have to know, are you a Panthers fan?
I root for the Panthers. I sure do. Yeah. They've been so close. So close, right? Now, growing up in Texas, I grew up a Dallas Cowboys fan. So me and my Granny Rich, who's 85 and a half, and still does the alterations on my clothes and wears her Redneck Riviera t-shirt every day down to her alteration shop in Ashland City, Tennessee. She and I watch Dallas Cowboy games together, but how can you not root for the Panthers, man? That's like bring it on, man. I mean, they're tough and rough and great. And the more I'm around the Wordsworths, the more I get into what that is. Absolutely. They sent, I have two little sons, 7 and 5. They sent us the really cool chairs, the Panthers chairs with the cup holders and the whole deal. Oh yeah. So we're sitting in our chairs rooting them on.
Well, that's great to hear. That is.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate you guys, absolutely.
No, yeah, we thank you for stopping by. This has been fun.
I appreciate you. Appreciate you guys too. Come look us up, redneckriviera.com. You can follow me on Twitter @JohnRich, @Redneck Riviera, and of course all the Big and Rich sites too. Keep up with us.